Walkabout Walkabout by James Vance Marshall.
In the introduction of Walkabout, this is book of James Vance Marshall, wrote Walkabout in 1959. In 1971, Nicholas Roach made a famous film of Walkabout. Marshall lives in Surrey, England. The story is located in Australia, where Aboriginal children live in desert for months alone. And he meets Mary and Peter, two Americans, who get lost after an airplane crash. Then they will have the problems like being in the strange country in a desert, and they will have to survive the tree and learn about life, but also they will feel strange. Meanwhile, the uncle of the two Americans is waiting for them in Adelaide. In the chapter 1, Lost in the Australian Bush, the aeroplane crashed in the middle of nowhere. There were no roads, no house, and no people. Only two children survived to crash. The aeroplane was on fire. Then they started to climb out through some rocks. From the rocks they watched the fire. 2,500 kilometers away in the big city of Adelaide, Uncle Kit was at the airport. Uncle Kane waited and waited. Then people began to talk about an accident, about a plane crash. There were no survivors. Now it was dark, and the children were alone. They were lost and they were afraid. They were lost and they were afraid. Peter is only 8 years old, and Mary is 13 years old. After having been climbing and walking, Peter is hungry. Fortunately, Mary has chocolate and gives half to her younger brother. They are tired. Mary understands that it is not very safe to sleep. Meanwhile, Peter doesn't understand the situation. In the dark, they can appreciate the birds and insects, the sky. Many people think that the earth is boring colored. They think there are no plants. But here in Australian desert there were beautiful plants in many different colors. The children slept through the wonderful early morning. A large grey bird, a kookaburra, sat in a tree above the children. He wanted food, a small animal or some insect. But on the rocks below him he could see only two very large animals. The girl opened her eyes and looked up. She was afraid, but then she saw the bird. So it was only a bird. She looked and looked at Peter. She decided to get into the river, but without clothes. When he was out, Peter also get in near the rocks because he cannot swim. Peter is stung by red ants and Mary helps him. Peter told Mary that she is hungry. She only has another piece of chocolate, but she knows they should look for food. After Peter tells Mary that he wants to go home, but she tells him that they are not in America, and they decide to go find Uncle Kid in Adelaide. Mary was only 13, but she was clever and knows that Adelaide is in South Australia. They started to climb. They climbed for 4.5 hours and they arrived at the top. The desert to the south in front of them was beautiful. The lines of the evening sun was wonderful, and there, far away, they could see water. It shone in the evening sun. The boy danced happily.
Chapter 2. A meeting with the bush boy. The next morning, Mary woke up first. She looked at the birds in the sky, and then Peter woke up too. First, we have to look for food, said Mary. We have to take some food with us on our journey. They looked and looked for food. For a long time, they found nothing. But then there was a tree with round balls of fruit. Some of the balls were green and some were red. You could get it from some fruits, but they had to eat. Mary, somebody's here, he called back to her. There was a boy very near them, only a meter away. He was black and he was naked. Mary started to run away, but then she looked again. The boy was young and friendly. He smiled. At home in South Carolina, there were black Africans, but this boy was browner, and his hair was different. He had blue-black eyes, and he had a baby wallaby in one hand. They were from different worlds. Peter and Mary came from a big city. The bush boy lived in the desert. It was his home, and he understood it. Wurongala, said the boy. We don't understand you, said Peter. The boy went to Peter and felt his face. Then he put his hands on Peter's hair, and he did the same with Mary. Mary wasn't very happy. At home in Charleston, South Carolina, no black person came near white people. But a lot of people in Charleston had strange ideas, and this boy didn't look dangerous. The bush boy looked at her, and he walked away back to his wallaby. Mary, Peter cried. What did you do? Look, he's going. Mary was quiet. She was afraid of the bush boy because he was naked, and she didn't want help from him. It was wrong. At home in South Carolina, you didn't ask a black boy for help. But he was the only person there. Peter was younger, and life was easier for him. Mary, let's go after him. Let's find him. Peter, wait. Mary called after him. Hey, boy, Peter shouted. We're coming too. Wait for us. Wait for us. The bush boy turned and waited. Look, boy, we're lost. We want water. Do you understand? Water, water. He made a cup with his hands and took them up to his mouth. The bush boy understood now. Arcolola, he said. That is, boy. You understand. We want arcolola and food too. He put his hands to his face and moved his mouth. Gemara, said the bush boy. Yes, that's right. We want Gemara and arcolola. But where can we find them? The black boy turned and walked into the bush. Then he stopped and looked back. Kurura, he said. Let's go. The boy called out to Mary. Kurura, that means follow me. And he ran after the bush boy. Chapter 3. Life in the bush. The bush boy walked for about an hour, and the children followed. Hour after hour, the bush boy walked. The bush boy never got tired, but Peter did. Suddenly, the trees ended, and there was the desert again, kilometers and kilometers of desert. Where is the food? Where is the water? It's too far for us, said Mary. The bush boy came back. He spoke quietly in his strange language, but they understood. You have to follow me or you'll die. There's water. It's not far now. Look over there. He showed them some rocks and a small hill. The desert was hot, but there, under the trees, it was night. Was there really water in those rocks in the middle of the desert? The sun went down before they arrived at the hill. They walked through them. Arcolola, said the bush boy. Mary and Peter were excited. It's water, Mary, water! Peter shouted. They drank and drank. The water was good. The bush boy drank only a little. He was interested in the children. He watched them carefully. They were strange. They didn't know the desert. They didn't know anything. Where were they from? Why were they here? I have to help them, he thought. He looked at different rocks and stopped in front of a big flat plate. Then he found some wood. Peter watched, but he didn't understand. Lorana, said the bush boy. I know, Peter was excited. Fire! You are going to make fire. Australian trees have a very dry wood and aboriginals can make fire in the old way. Peter followed the bush boy everywhere. Boys didn't want to be with girls. Why can't I be a boy too? Mary too. The boy took the wallaby and cooked it. Now they were tired. The bush boy put some water on the fire. Mary woke up first. She watched the sky. What was up there? Another life? Life after death? Heaven? She didn't know. Why another boy too? She thought. Life is easy for boys. Then Peter woke up. How can we get to Adelaide, Mary? Will the boy take us? At home in South Carolina, she usually knew the answers to Peter's questions. But here in Bush, she didn't. Wongwara, said the bush boy. Jemara, asked Peter. The bush boy smiled. Yes, it was food. The boys had 20 or 30 water in their arms, but now Peter was naked too. Peter, where are your clothes? Oh, Mary, stop begging big sister. Do this, do that. Peter, she said, come here. Oh, Mary, it's too hot. But okay, I'll wear the trousers, but not the shirt. Later they found wood and made a fire. After the food, the bush boy stood up and started to do an aboriginal dance. First it was slow, but then it was faster and faster, and then it was stranger and stranger. Then he stopped in front of Mary. He looked at her, and she looked at him. Her eyes were wide open. He wasn't afraid, but for the first time he saw a girl. He saw something in the girl's eyes. It was dark and strange. She was afraid. To him, that could mean only one thing. The girl saw that he is dead. For the bush boy and for his trip, there was a life plan. You were born, and then you walked with your trip. After that, you walk alone on your walkabout. Then you were a man, and you lived with a woman. And after that, you died. It never changed. Now the bush boy walked alone. He was on his walkabout. He had to live in the desert alone for 6 months. Every day was dangerous for him. After his walkabout, he was a man, but the girl could see his death, so there was no future for him. Everything was different for him now. I'm going to die, he thought. Peter didn't understand. He took Mary's hands, and then he began to cry. The bush boy looked at him, so Peter could see his death too. He turned and slowly walked into the desert. Mary, he's leaving. What we do? He cried. Boy, stop! Come back, come back! The bush boy didn't hear or didn't listen, but Peter ran after him. When Peter sees my death in my eyes, I'll run away. Then I can go. But Peter took his bush hands. He looked at him and smiled. I'm not going to die. Perhaps she's grown. Perhaps that isn't coming for me now. Perhaps it's on the way to other trips. He walked back to Mary, but she moved away. She was afraid. He saw in her eyes. So, I'm going to die. He too. Not today, not tomorrow, and not the next day, but before the rains come.
Chapter 4. The End of the Walkabout. The bush boy thought about the two children. They didn't know the desert and they couldn't find food without him. He had to take the children to the rivers under the mountains. They walked in the desert for a long time, up and down, over big rocks and across dry rivers. The bush boy never stopped or looked back. Then the desert was suddenly more friendly. The boys drank water from the river with their hands. Mary didn't move and she didn't say anything. And Peter didn't understand. But Mary was strange sometimes. Then the bush boy got up and started to walk. On the way, the bush boy killed a big bustard and they ate it for dinner. Then they felt sleepy. That evening Peter didn't help with the fire. He was too tired. Mary put her arms around him and in a minute he was sleeping. The bush boy cooked food for the two of them. Then he put out the fire. When it was dark, Peter and Mary slept, but the bush boy stood on the rocks and looked out at the desert again for a long time. Peter and Mary found wood for the fire. Next morning, Peter worked first. He walked down the rocks to the river and had a good swim. He climbed back to the others. Chapter 5. Out of the bush. Mary and Peter made a bed out the ground for the dead boy. They put wood and rocks over him. They stayed quietly with the dead boy for a short time. They started to walk. They walked carefully and they found food and water. The bush boy lesson helped them. The boy was right. At the bottom of the hill everything was green. There was food and water below, and hand in hand the children started to down the mountain, to the rivers, the trees, and then green plants. The country was very beautiful. It was wonderful after their difficult life in the desert. There was food everywhere and a lot of water. There were birds in the trees and fish in the rivers. The plants and the trees had fruit on them. On the third day, they saw a koala in the tree. It was a mother koala with her baby. Peter went up into the tree. He took the baby from the mother and gave it to Mary. The mother koala started to make strange sounds. She wanted her baby. She tried to give the baby back to its mother, but it caught her dress. It pulled and pulled. Mary's dress came off and fell to the ground, and Mary said, "Oh, my dress!" She laughed. She felt good now, with no clothes. She was different Mary now.